Hey y'all, happy Sunday. Hope everything is going well for you and yours. This is the portion of the show where we let YouTube send out the notifications via social media, let folks know that the broadcast is getting ready to start. We'll sit here and we'll count down the next 2 minutes before I push that button and go live. If you happen to be watching this on replay, go ahead and scrub past this graphic until you see my smiling face. If you have any questions and you're joining us today in the live chat, feel free to go ahead and add those questions to the live chat now, and we'll get to them in due course during this live Q&A session. So, sit back, relax, grab a beverage, and we'll get going in about 30 seconds. Hey y'all, happy Sunday. How goes it for you and yours? Oh boy, it just I just happened to be sitting here waiting for that pre-roll to finish up, and I happened to look down and was like, oh my god, I could have put on a nicer t-shirt than this. I've really got a nasty one on. Oh well, too late to do anything about it now. Welcome aboard. And glad to see everybody out here in the chat. I've had a lot of comments and a lot of questions on this morning's video, more than I thought I would get, especially about the paint sprayer. We'll get to that in just a couple of seconds. This morning's video was the shop shed update for the ceiling, and the reason I had to separate everything out, and the main reason I went with the ceiling as a separate video from the wall sheathing, is because I was in such a rush to get the ceiling done. I was in such a rush to get the ceiling done because I had to take down all the shop lighting in order to do the ceiling. So I had to hurry up and get that done so I could get the shop lights back up, so I could go get my table saw out of storage, so I could use the table saw to sheathe the walls. So it was a massive case of what I call having the but firsts, in that I want to get the walls done, but first I got to get the ceiling done. But first I got to, it was just a big old long list of things that I had to do before I could do what I wanted to do. So it's, but the ceiling is finished, primed, painted, as you saw in the video, and a little preview of coming attractions. The walls are all sheathed now. I'm doing the gable ends as we speak. I'm kind of taking a break today, but the gable ends above the double doors and then on the back walls, that's what I'm in the middle of now. Tomorrow morning I will go pick up primer so I can get the walls and those gable ends primed. Then I have a few more little things to do before the next video is, I can put together the next video and then put that in the queue to be released. The next video that comes out from me will not be a shop shed update. It's going to be, I'm going to try to get into some of the features in version 11, because I've had a lot of questions on that for the Vectric software. But the main thing that I needed to focus on was getting that table saw out of storage. I didn't talk about it much in this video that went out today, but the way things worked out was I bought a table saw when we lived down in Nevada. Oh boy, we're looking at about almost 10 years ago. And I bought it, got it delivered, got it assembled, and was using it down there. Then we promptly decided to move back up to Oregon. So it went into what I thought was going to be temporary storage. 9 years later, I was able to get it out of storage. So it's about a 9 or 10-year-old table saw that has maybe, well, now maybe I have 20 hours on it. So it's basically brand new, but it's 9 years old. So it's, but boy, I love it. I successfully converted it over to 220. And oh boy, it's a whole new tool. Believe me, I love that thing. So let's see. Let's get into some of the questions that I had on this. One of the recurring questions that came up via email and private message and just in discussions is why I went with plywood on the ceiling. Why didn't I go with drywall? And the main reason for that was because I plan on attaching various things to the ceiling, camera mounts. I'm going to be running air, compressed air, and I'm going to be running dust collection. So I didn't want to have to mess around trying to find roof rafters to hang all of this stuff on. None of it is very heavy. I would rather just screw it to the plywood and be done with it and not have to concern myself with it, not have to try to find the roof rafters and make sure that I'm drilling into a stud. So that's the main reason for going with plywood. I wanted to go with 3/4 inch plywood, but lumber prices being what they are, it just it just couldn't, I couldn't afford it, put it to you that way. Not when 3/4 inch plywood is going for, in some cases, $100 a sheet. It's just not going to happen because I needed 6 sheets to do the ceiling alone. Fortunately, I was able to score some quote unquote shop grade CDX exterior grade plywood sheathing from one of my local lumber yards for almost half of what some of the big box stores wanted. So I fell into that deal. Then I fell into a similar deal with the wall sheathing, but more on that in the next video. So I saved a ton of money going that route. And again, the main reason for going with plywood was because I want to be able to mount things to the ceiling and not have to worry about trying to find rafters, etc. So let's see, go back up here. And some of this I did answer in the chat before we went live, but I will go ahead and talk about them a little bit more here now that we are live. Let's see. Brooks Martin, okay, here it is right here. Looking forward to Lainey Shaughnessy and my collaborations. With my partner Eloy and I putting our podcast on hiatus for a little while. Yes, we will be back. With us putting that on hiatus for a little while, I have a little bit of time to go over to Lainey Shaughnessy at Spindle TV, the YouTube channel Spindle TV. I'll put a link to it in the description of this as soon as we're finished live here. Lainey Shaughnessy does a lot of live sessions and live Vectric tutorials on that channel. And they're all live sessions. They run anywhere from an hour and a half to 3 hours long. But he records on Tuesday evenings. And that's when Eloy and I recorded our podcast. So there was a schedule conflict. I was never able to get over there. Well, I was able to just this last Tuesday, and hooted and hollered with folks in the chat and had a good time, and talked and chatted with Laney a little bit too. He and I met at the woodworking show in Atlanta in 2017, and we talked about doing a few collaborations back then, because I don't know if he still is or not, but I know at the time he was the primary trainer for Digital Woodcarver, and he taught the Vectric software to the Digital Woodcarver customers. And if you can believe it, he's more busy than I am, because when he is not physically working on something, working on a video, he was on live through FaceTime or Skype or Google Hangouts, whatever, training Digital Woodcarver customers, because that's part of the package deal that they offer. And he was the only one doing it. So I don't know if he is still doing that or not. I really we've kind of fallen out of contact with one another because we're both so busy. But we just never were able to make that happen. So we'll see what happens in the future. But it's not going to be anything coming up really rather soon. But if you are not subscribed to Laney Shaughnessy over at Spindle TV, is the YouTube channel name, and I'm going to link it as soon as we're finished live here. Do yourself a favor and get over there. Like I said, his training is live, so if you have a question right then and there, he'll get to it and he'll answer it for you. But be prepared to spend some time, because as I say, they'll go anywhere from an hour and a half to 3 hours. I'll put it to you this way: he considers my videos short and sweet and to the point. So let's see. Now, I had a lot of questions, believe it or not, about the airless paint sprayer. A lot more than I thought I would. It was a game changer for me. I got it in my local big box store, and it really, I had used the little cup gun airless before, but when I saw that sprayer there would hold 1.5 gallons of paint, I thought, well, for the size of this thing, rather than, climbing up and down and refilling and all the other good stuff, I've got to prime and paint the ceiling. I got to prime and paint the walls. I've got to paint, when I get this whole thing done, I'm going to repaint the outside. I've got enough paint to do the outside of, I've got the shop shed that I'm building, and I have another 6 foot wide by 12 foot long shed that's the same color. I'm going to be repainting the outsides of both of them at the same time so they match. I might as well go ahead and get the sprayer. And plus, I got a bunch of things to do on the house. Next year, we're going to be building a new deck, so I'll have that to stain. I might as well go ahead and get that sprayer. And I got to tell you, I love it. I absolutely love that sprayer. If you've never used an airless paint sprayer for latex house paint or deck stain or something like that, it really, I'm not kidding you. It was, I kind of used my camera as a timer. I set up the camera and started spraying, and I finished that entire ceiling in less than 14 minutes. And it took me longer to clean up the sprayer, which was only about 20, 25 minutes. Everything from dumping the paint back into the can to it's finished and everything rolled up and put away. I really love that sprayer. Let's see. I had another question about Brooks Martin wanted to know, did I need to thin the paint to spray it? No, I did not. That another advantage of that particular sprayer is it has interchangeable tips, and they're standardized size. So that tip size was 15 thousandths of an inch. It was a 515 tip, meaning that the spray pattern is 5 inches wide and the orifice size is 15 1/1000ths of an inch. And for latex paint, latex house primer and paint, you do not have to thin it to spray with that size of a tip. So, I mean, I just had the store put the can on the shaker, brought it home, did a little bit more stirring up, poured it right into the hopper and sprayed. And it was that convenient and that easy. And I just absolutely love it. So if you have a high volume to do, boy, definitely, definitely worth the investment. So let's see. Trying to get to some of these here. Brooks also wants to know if I can touch on dust collection, tools, storage, and clean room. I'm not going to have a separate clean room for a spray booth or anything like that. I'm going to be using a tent setup and doing a lot of my finish work outside, just simply because even though this is a big shop for me compared to what I'm used to, it's still small and space is going to be at a premium. It's only 12 feet wide and 16 feet long. So the CNC router is going to take up the bulk of it. The table saw is going to take up quite a bit, but I am going to be touching on dust collection and tool storage because I'm going to be building most, if not all of that for the shop. When I first get moved in, I've got a little roll around stamped steel typing table that the keyboard and a bunch of other things sit on. I'm going to be building a computer desk, a small computer desk with overhead storage for a lot of the things that I use right there on the CNC. And that there will be videos on that. I'm also going to be building a assembly table / outfeed table for the table saw so that a lot of tools and supplies are going to be stored on that. I'm going to be building cabinets at each end with shelf storage in the middle and a power strip, and it'll be able to move around as I either need to use it or need to get it out of the way. So a lot of that's going to be coming down the road, as well as a lot of the things that I'm going to have to do for video, camera mounts, and then eventually running dust collection and compressed air. I've had to kind of downgrade. I set my sights pretty high on a compressor and dust collection system, and finally had to come to the realization that I just don't need to go as big as I thought I wanted to go. So those things are going to happen quicker since I don't have to save up the money for them as much, or save up as much money for them, excuse me. So that's where that's going. But it's going to be a little bit down the road. I've got a lot coming up in the next, well, for the month of August and September. You all know about the Vectric virtual user group meeting happening in September. I'm working on the project for that as we speak. I'm going to have to stop everything else here in the next few days and go outside in the old shop and physically cut the project so that I have it in hand when I do that presentation. Then I got to work on my background here because it's going to be virtual. And this is just a mess. I don't mind for me, but I do mind for a company like Vectric. I want to, class it up a little bit anyway. I don't know if I'll be ready to do it from the shop, and that's up in the air. So we'll see what happens there. But so I'm going to have to put certain things on hold, finish up that project, and when that's done, turned in, ready and raring to go, then I can get back out in the shop shed and get it finished. I took a quick count going down the list. I have 8 more things to do before I can move tools in. And we're talking about everything from priming, and I got to finish my gable ends, priming and paint, lay down the flooring, put down thresholds in the doorways, then I can start moving tools in. So I'm hoping to be ready for that by the end of September. It's just going to depend on scheduling. So Oh boy, let's see here now. We have some other questions. I'm not even going to try to pronounce this, and I know exactly what you're doing. How can you remove a computer from your Vectric account? Basically, you remove the software from the computer. And when you do that, it opens up. You can put the software on 3 computers. But basically, like you have an old computer, if you can't physically do that, you'll need to get a hold of Vectric support. They can remove a computer from your account. If not, you'll have to go in and when you install the software on the new computer, it'll tell you you've reached your limit and ask you which one you want to remove. Or it should. If it doesn't, get a hold of Vectric support. So let's see. Richard Poulin wants to know, off subject, but do you have a video on the design in VCarve for the post you turned on your Rotary kit? No, I did not. And the reason I did not do a video on that design was because that was basically just a prototype test to make sure that the rotary axis actually worked. I didn't do any video on coming up with that design because at the time I had planned on doing that within the next 4 or 5 months. Then other things took precedent, and I'll be honest, I haven't had the rotary axis back on the CNC router since I did those videos, and that was a couple of years ago. One of the things that I definitely need to do when I get moved into the new shop is get back into the rotary axis. And because I left a lot of loose ends hanging that I've got to get back into, and I've got projects piling up. I have projects I need to get done. So I'm sorry, but no, I don't have any kind of a video with that design on it. So, see, Robert Dymock, hope all is good and the fires aren't close. No, the fires are nowhere near us. The closest one to us is about 150 miles to the east and moving away from us. We get the smoke from it. I don't know if you can see out the window. No, you can't. It's just a big white blob behind me right here. But everything has a yellow tint to it. It's just smoky in the valley here. And that happens. It gets in here and gets trapped. So, and stinks and gives people respiratory issues and things like that. So let's see here. Speaking of respiratory issues, sorry about that. Let's see. Percy Kuka says, Shop Shed is looking great. Thank you. An order came in early this week for a carving 20 millimeter depth on 30 millimeter HD HMR, harder and denser type of MDF. Okay. 32 square feet with a tight delivery time frame. Okay. To meet the deadline, I did away with roughing and started carving directly with a 3 millimeter tapered ball nose, running a conservative feed of 60 at 12,000 RPM and 50 plunge. Okay. Machining has gone on for over 60 hours. The carving is beautiful. Tool so far is going strong. From my understanding, is this okay to look into for other projects too? Or is something like this avoidable for the long run? It's all going to depend on the size of the bit you're using and how much you get into rest machining. The size of the bit you're using, the plunge rate you have set, and you said yourself 50, which is fine. That's conservative, but that's fine if it's working for you. I don't know which version you are using, but version 11, the newest release, has automatic rest machining built in. So if you have large areas, now you're saying you have a 60-hour carving. It's gone on for over 60 hours. The new version with automatic rest machining will let you plug in as many tools as you need. So you could use, like, if you've got large blank areas where it's just, say, carved into a dish or something, or carved into something flat, you could use, for instance, a 1/2-inch diameter ball nose to carve away the majority of the material. You could use come back in with a 1/4-inch or 1/8-inch ball nose, and the tool path knows to avoid the areas that it's already machined with that larger bit and focus on the detail areas it can reach. Then you can come back in with, say, a 1/4 millimeter tapered ball nose and just finish up the small details. The software calculates separate tool paths, just like in pocket tool paths where you're using different sizes of clearance bits. The main difference is you're using different types of ball nose bit, different sizes of ball nose bits. And I spoke about this last week. There, I have to try to find it here behind the scenes while I'm looking. Oh boy. It was somebody who did this with a, oh man, now I can't find it. There was somebody who did this on here it is. Steve Russell. He recently completed a fairly large 18-inch diameter 3D carved plaque. He used a 1/2-inch end mill for roughing, and for the finishing tool path, he used a 1/16 of an inch tapered ball nose bit. According to VCarve Pro, the estimated total carving time was a little over 25 hours. He upgraded to version 11 and looked into the new rest machining on the 3D finishing tool path. He got rid of the roughing tool path, didn't use it, and he recalculated that tool path using a 1/4-inch tapered ball nose, a 1/8-inch tapered ball nose, and a 1/16-inch tapered ball nose. And he brought down that estimated finishing time with no other changes from 25 hours to 13 hours. So it almost cut that machining time in half. So if you're on the fence and you're wondering whether or not version 12 is worth it, cutting your machining time in half, I think, is well worth it. Because let's face it, 3D carves take a long time because that bit is moving so slowly and such small amounts. So it's really, really worth looking into. So, let's see here. IL Peleg says my table saw is actually brand old. Yes, it is. and so am I. So, let's see. IL also wants to know. I also want to know the behind the scenes of how you found that comment about the rest machining from last time so fast. I can't explain it. I can't explain it other than to say it stood out in my brain. That I got an email last week on just this topic. Well, more, it's been closer to 2 weeks ago. Well, about a week and a half ago. Anyway, that's beside the point. It just stuck in my brain when somebody asked a question that I know I answered last week or talked about last week. It just, for some reason, total recall this time. I'm not always that way. In fact, more often than not, I'm not that way. Okay, I can't highlight it here, but John Thompson asked a question long before we went live about downloading and installing projects from Design and Make. And what I'm doing is I'm kibitzing here as I'm trying to find the question, because let's see, here it is over here. He purchased Aspire version 11 along with the 5 Western scenes and the expansion pack from Design and Make. He downloaded all 6 files. They were zip folders. He extracted them all onto his desktop, but can't seem to get them into the clipart. He wants to know, do I need to enter each part of each folder, or can't I enter the whole folder at one time? And my reply to him was, and it's true, I did a video on it. It's been a while back, because it was number 46 in my Absolute Beginner series. So it's been a while back. Probably last year, about making custom clip art libraries. And yeah, I released it June of 2020. Making custom clip art libraries. And part of making a custom clip art library is about creating folders. I created folders on an external hard drive. And that's where I put the custom clip art that I created. Then I showed how to import that all into the clip art folder on the clip art tab in the at that time Aspire software. So I did do a video on it. I linked it down in the description. Basically, you can add clip art, or you can add entire folders of clip art. You can even go back over and find the folder that all the clip art is stored in and add it to that folder. Then the next time you start the software, it's there in your clip art folder. But I explained that in that video. So I've gone ahead and I've linked it, John. I don't know if you're still here, but I've gone ahead and linked that in the description of this video. So let's see. Okay, IL says, I wasn't wondering on remembering it, just how you found the comment. So you searched your email. Kind of, sort of. It was fairly close to the top. So I just kind of scanned down and, there you are. So no, I didn't search my email, because to be honest, I couldn't remember who sent it. I get so many emails, it's not even funny. Richard Farwell, these long machine times are scary. I just did a bowl that took plus or minus 5 hours and thought that was extreme. Yeah, my personal longest carve was right at 14 hours. And even though I'm still a nerd about some of this stuff, I mean, every time I turn that thing on and hit cycle start in Mach 3, I stand there like a 5-year-old and watch it, But I have kind of gotten myself away from that. I do other things, but I'm always within earshot or always within sight of the machine. So if I hear something odd, I hear a sound that's out of place, I can run in and hit the panic button and stop everything. But generally speaking, I'm within 5 or 6 steps of the machine. But anybody who has run a CNC and had oops moments will tell you 1 step is too far away. So, by that time, it's basically too late. It is eaten whatever it's run into, or it's shattered a bit or something like that. But I stick around and I do other things while the machine is running. And that's what I tell folks who are thinking about getting into CNC, that I think of my CNC router as an additional employee. It's an employee that doesn't give me any drama. It doesn't, show up hungover on Mondays. It doesn't try to leave early on Fridays. It just does what I tell it to, so I can sand and finish other projects while it's carving the current project. And IL makes a valid point. It's a bit difficult to listen to a machine for 60 hours. That is why I personally break up my G code. I know a lot of folks who put all their G code in one file so they can go out and just put it on and get it going. I am not that guy. I break it up into separate files and I try to plan ahead. That 14-hour carve was 3 different files. So I could run one, go in, get it, make a sandwich, do whatever I got to do, come back out, cycle start on the other one, on the next one, and then do whatever it is I have to do. If we need to stop and go shopping or something like that, as soon as that third file is done, great, we can take off and leave. Then I can come back and do that final one, maybe the next day. So I break it up and try to plan it ahead. I will not run that machine overnight with me trying to sleep. That's not going to happen. I'm a home hobbyist. I don't have to get out 1,000 parts in a day. I can afford to take the time. And if it takes me 3 days to carve a project, it takes me 3 days to carve a project. I just have to plan for that. So your mileage may vary. I know a lot of people use baby monitors and security cams and webcams with apps on their smartphones so they can keep an eye on it. And if you're comfortable doing that, great. But I will not run any tool if I'm not there to pay attention to it. And that's just all there is to it. That's just me. So, okay. Let's see. Okay. T. Button wants to know, if you don't run your dust collection during a long carve, can it affect the cut quality, or does it really have no effect? I'm going to say that's a definite maybe. I'm not really sure on if it will affect the cut quality, but there are a lot of reasons on the pro side for dust collection. And I'm old school. I've been working with wood in one way, shape, or form for over 50 years. And I will tell you that I never really cared or paid attention to dust collection, except with certain tools like wide belt sanders and things like that, where you have to pull that dust away or the machine just doesn't want to function. It's only been over the last 10 to 12 years that I started using dust collection myself on most of my tools that I've become a major fan of it. So I don't know if it will actually affect cut quality. I don't think I'm qualified to say yes or no, but the benefits of using dust collection are more than just cut quality. I mean, if something should happen, there's not so much tinder there to start a fire, for instance. So I don't know. It's easier to clean up the mess as it's being made than it is to try to clean up after the fact. And because trust me, I did that for too many years. So I am a fan of dust collection, but I really don't think I'm qualified to say yes or no. Does it affect quality of the cut? So let's see. Let's see. Steve S. Have you ever done a segmented bowl? No, I have not. I have the DWC 2440 with the 4th axis. Would it be best to treat it as a 2-sided project or run on the 4th axis? Yes. I mean, experiment. That's about the only thing I can say is experiment. I can see where running it on the rotary, depending upon what it is, I can see where running it on the rotary would be a benefit, but you can't really do an inside cut with a rotary axis. So you're going to have to, like if you're making a bowl or a plate or a charger or something like that, you're going to have to take it off the rotary and put it down flat on the table to carve out the middle anyway. So you might as well do it as a 2-sided project. My main reason for getting a rotary axis was what I the holy grail for me was to be able to design a guitar neck and put the material in the rotary axis and have it carve that neck. And that's why I made my CNC routers as wide as I did, was so I could do a bass guitar neck, because I do need to build a bass guitar. I haven't gotten to that point yet. Other than guitar work, 90% of what I plan on doing with the rotary axis are going to be spindles for spokes for spinning wheels and legs and things of that nature. So no, I haven't done a segmented bowl, but I will say this, there is one up here, and I just got to get to that point. So stay tuned. Let's see. T Button wants to know, how do you pause a long carve to continue the following day? That depends on your machine and your control software. I would, number one, talk to the machine manufacturer. Go to the manufacturer's website and look for a support forum. If they have a support forum, join it and spend some time looking around on that forum. You are not the first person to ask that question. I will guarantee it. And nobody knows your machine better than the people who made it and the people who bought it and use it. So I'm willing to bet you the answer is over there in the support forum for your CNC router. I'm willing to bet you the answer is already there. If it's not, if your manufacturer, let's say you bought it off of AliExpress or something like that, and your manufacturer doesn't have a support forum, look at the forum for the control software. Mach 3, Mach 4, UC CNC, Linux CNC, any of those, look on the control software's support forum. Mach 3 and Mach 4 have a tremendous support system and a tremendous support forum. They're really excellent. So if you're using either one of those, I'm a big fan of their support forums. And trust me when I say you are not the first person to ask that. The answer is there, depending upon your machine. So, let's see. Yeah, Todd HCNC says, run your dust collector. It will affect your air quality. True point. True point. And again, it is easier to clean it up as it's being cut than it is to try to go in and shovel it out later on. So, let's see. Paul Coffey says, can't help but love the wheel behind you. Yes, this is one of my wife's acquisitions. Let me try to get out of the way. It's there for storage. There are a couple of things wrong with it, but it's low on the priority list. She has other wheels that I'm working on now. And so that's basically there because, I'll be honest, there's no other place to put it. In this room right here, right now, which is 11 feet this way and 10 feet this way and 11 feet this way, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 spinning wheels. 4 of which I can reach out and touch, but they're all in various stages of repair and disrepair. And then they're slowly being worked on, and that's another little rabbit hole to get into on the channel down the road, is turning repair parts for these wheels on the rotary axis. So, because believe me, we've got a bunch more that needs to be fixed up and moved out of here. Okay, I think I've caught up on all the questions. We have been here for 45 minutes now. Next week will just be an open live Q&A. I don't know what the next video is going to be. Because as I say, I'm going to have to get the project for Vectric done for the user group meeting. So it's probably going to be a simple video, just something that I can knock out in one day. Sorry to disappoint, but I will try to make it on one of the new features within version 11, because I'm getting a lot of questions about it. I have gotten into it and I am using it. And in fact, that's what I'm doing the project for the user group meeting in, is version 11. This afternoon, in a little more than an hour's time, Michael Mazalik will be previewing his latest video, which is on creating components in Aspire version 11. So if you have Aspire version 11, some things have changed, and Michael is, again, my 3D guru, and he sure needs to be yours. So there's a link to that video. It's creating components in Aspire version 11. There's a link to it in the description of this video right now. And that will be at 2 o'clock Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern on his YouTube channel. And while you're over there, subscribe to his channel. He premieres a video, I won't say every Sunday, but most Sundays. And as an added bonus, he recently just remastered another one of his videos that was on, I got to find it now. Holy cow. I just had all that information right here. He just remastered one of his older videos. Oh, come on, Mark. Where is it? You just had it. Where did it go? Well, now I look like a goofball now, sitting here scrolling back trying to find the ding dong thing. Oh yeah, the 2-rail sweep in Aspire. I got to tell you, the 2-rail sweep is a killer tool, and he remastered that video, and it's well worth the watch. Well worth it. And no matter what version of Aspire you're using, the 2-rail sweep is a killer tool. So let's see. Let's see here. Let's see. Percy Kuka says, I am planning to upgrade to 11 soon. What I actually want to know is the method that I used harmful for the machine. I think you would know it already if it was harmful for your machine. I think you'd know it already, because something would have been damaged. So you running those conservative speeds that you're talking about, I think you'll be okay. And you have a larger machine. So I think you're all right. And I'm here to tell you, version 11, worth every penny. Worth every penny. So, all right, let's see here. Steve Perdue said Vectric did a video. Vectric is doing a video this Tuesday on V11 changes and improvements. If you go to Vectric's YouTube channel, they have several videos out on all of the different software, whether it be Cut2D or VCarve, Desktop and Pro, or Aspire. They have a video on the improvements. And they went back and they reshot all of their tutorials using version 11. So you think I'm crazy. That's a lot of tutorials to do, because that's like 70 tutorials that they do. And every time they release a new version, they do another one. So, okay. Brooks, I'm not sure what you're referring to. Michael video will be 2 o'clock Pacific time, 5 p.m. Eastern time this afternoon, in a little bit more than an hour from now. So I'm not sure. Maybe I misunderstood. Okay. I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up for this video. I'll see you over at Michael's video at in about an hour, as I said. Next week is going to be open Q&A. And the week after that, I will have a Vectric software video. I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to do just yet, but there's a lot coming up. And I just hope you'll be patient with me and stick with me. I want to thank everybody who has clicked those donation buttons down in the description. And I appreciate you guys more than you will ever know. You're making a lot of this possible for me. And I mean, you guys just absolutely rock. You rule. You are the best. And I mean that sincerely. So thank you very much. And for now, we'll go ahead and we'll shut this down. And I will say, have a good one. Have a great Sunday. Hope you got some shop time in this weekend. After Michael's video, go do something cool. Make some chips. There's still plenty of time. But until next time, y'all take care.